Hey, this is Ed Parcaut, your host of Real Estate Jerky. And what we do is we do these lives on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And we normally have the person who's on the radio show the weekend before. And we have that gentleman today who is Eugene Rubio Kilbride. Thanks for coming in again today after being on the radio.
Thanks for having me, Ed. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. I want to get people to understand who you are, and just so people understand why you're running and why you're running against I think it's Harder in your district that you're running against, right? Josh
That's
Harder.
correct. That's correct. So, as you introduced, my name is Eugene Kilbride. I'm a congressional candidate for a newly released commission lines. We draw the lines, finalized the district maps last night. So, what was formerly District 10 is now split between two districts. Now we have District 13 and District 5, and I will be running in District 5.
So where is District 5 now?
So, as you probably could have anticipated, the commission was neither non-biased or political. They were both, and they really gerrymandered the lines. So, what was once a whole district in Stanislaus County is split between two, and it almost runs up 99. So it includes the east side of Turlock, the northeast side of Modesto, stops north of, we get a little bit of Riverbank. We no longer get Escalon. We get Oakdale. And it continues all the way up Amador, Calaveras, Tuolumne, Mariposa, and Madera counties now.
It's part of 5?
As part of 5. So
really?
we are almost a Valley, Mountain, Sierra district now.
All right. And so District 13 is on the other side that you were talking about. And but is that more towards, so explain that side. I know you kind of went into it, but I kind of want to go more in detail to see what was lost.
Okay. So District 5 is now west of 99. So it's Ceres, Keys, the northwest part of Turlock, all the way down as southern as Fresno, bordering on Bakersfield. And then as far as north, it encompasses Patterson, Grayson, Wesley, and I believe Tracy. So
I want to clarify, that is 5 or 13?
That is 13. I'm sorry. That is 13.
Okay. I just want to make sure. So Modesto's in 5 still. Is that what you're saying?
Modesto is split. Turlock is split. And that's what's so controversial about this. And that's why I say it's gerrymandered. Generally, political districts, you want to keep cities whole. You want to keep counties whole as much as you can. And our biggest cities are now split.
So where is it split Modesto? Is that you said the 99? Is that pretty much where it splits through Modesto? So the west side of 99 would be under 13 and the right side would be under 5?
Roughly. Roughly correct. Yeah, roughly correct. And then they gerrymandered a bunch of lines that, it's not split evenly. Ceres is wholly in District 13. Keys is wholly in District 13. So there's like these little carve outs that they did purposely. It wasn't, okay, here, we're going to follow these lines. It was what population is in these areas that we're trying to target. And that was specifically for Devin Nunez, who is an incumbent and who's going to be running in District 13. He's a Democrat. And so that district is leaning, +7, +8 for the Democratic Party. But the good thing for me is the new district, District 5, is about +17 Republican. So if you live in the news district, it's good news.
And before we get into your background, the reason they had to make that you have to make these changes, or the reason behind it, was because we lost people in California, 700,000 people.
Roughly. So anytime a state loses population, they have to take that into account in the 10-year census. So every 10 years, the lines are redrawn. Generally, this was done by Congress politicians, and in California, they made this Citizens Commission, which I was talking about earlier. They said there was Republicans, they said there was Democrats, and then they said there was some nonpartisan. But by the way things turned out, it was heavily Democratic influenced. So yeah, we lost people. We lost the district, which was formerly Congressional District 10. And so Now it's split into two.
Okay. All right. Well, now we know where you're running. You're no longer District 10. I'll make the changes so that, hey, put a line through a District 5 now. Who is Eugene Rubio Kilbride? First of all, you have a very English background, right? And last name?
Yes. So Irish and English on my dad's side, Spanish, Mexican on my mom's side, but we are 100% American. I was raised in Patterson, Modesto, Central Valley, went to school at UOP, served in the military. I was a 11 Bravo, 240 Bravo machine gunner in OIF 2. So I deployed in Baghdad in 2004. And I felt the need to serve after 9/11. So,
right. And that was Army?
Army, yes, sir. Yeah, U.S. Army. 19 Cavalry.
Not everybody understands what you said. We're not on helping the brave. I understand because I was prior military. And it's funny because I get a lot of people talk about Marines and former Marines, like we were talking about people running for Congress. There is no former Marines. You're always a Marine. So, you can't say former. You're always there. So it takes a lot to want to run for politics because it gets ugly out there. I mean, real ugly. I mean, people say really harsh things about different people and it's not like it used to be a gentleman's race. It's a totally different thing nowadays. Why would you want to put yourself and your family through that?
And that's something I've thought about, Ed. We need to bring some civility back into politics. And I wish that we could return to that gentleman's game, but things have become so partisan, so sick, when they're attacking people individually. And how I was raised, is God, family, and country. And to have pride in who you are and to have pride in this country. And I think we're losing that as a nation. We all used to have one culture and one common goal. And, there was slight differences between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. But in the last, I'd say 5 to 7 years, the visceral reactions and the nastiness has gotten to a point where it's almost become like a bad marriage where, people are talking about irreconcilable differences. And I don't think that it's unrecoverable. I think we can unite. I think we can meet on common ground, but we've got to start using language that is not so nasty. That's not so visceral. That's not, off the top of your head chain of thought thinking that you would say behind closed doors. And I think once we can establish that respect and know that we're more alike than we are different, then we can start heading towards those common goals.
And for me, I think that, and this is why we kind of had the radio show last weekend about veterans running for politics and running for different offices and having them on and talk, because I think the one thing, I don't care whether you're a Democrat or Republican or independent and you're a veteran, you can work with other people. You take the emotions out of it, meaning that you can discuss things without getting emotionally charged and have to attack that person. And that's kind of how I feel about it. And I think that's why we need more veterans in Congress and, you name it, wherever we need them because of that. And that's the one thing that we have lost. And you were just talking about that, how nasty it's gotten out there, because it's almost like they only want one person to say their point and they don't want to hear your point. I'm on why they do the radio show and we have community and we have people come on from both sides is because I want to know why people are running and the reason they're running and why they think the way they do, so we can understand that and move forward as a country. I don't know if there's a question there.
No. I completely agree. I mean, you were in the military, there's people from different cultures, different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different ways of thinking that you're having to work towards a common goal. It's not identity politics where I'm a, African-American soldier, I'm a Hispanic soldier, I'm a white soldier. No, it's we're soldiers, we're Marines, we're corpsmen, we're Navy. And, this is the objective and we've got to get it done. And that's how we've got to start looking at things. And that's what I was talking about when I say we used to have this common culture and it wasn't built on identity politics. And that's what the far left has really been trying to do for a long time is pick people apart by their identities, and really separate that out from the common American culture that we should all be united by. I'm not a Mexican American. I'm not an Irish American or English American. I'm American. And I think that that's how we need to see ourselves moving forward. Because if we see ourselves and our identity first, then we're always going to say, well, hey, what about this? And what about that? And focus on what's dividing us as opposed to what's uniting us.
I mean, we united as a country usually when something major happens, right? I mean, 9/11 changed everything for us, and we united like we hadn't united since World War I, II, and you name it. So for me, now we have this pandemic that came. We should have united as a country, not use it as politics and reasons to shut things down and control things. And I don't want to get on a soapbox here, be here for an hour, but what are you focusing on? What is your agenda going forward? What are your main 3 things that you want to get accomplished that you see that needs to get accomplished?
And I think with the COVID pandemic, the major issue that's been stagnating the United States recently is the economy and our overreaction to the pandemic. When it first hit, it was scary. We all were, really worried about what was going to happen. We've got to the point now where, we've got 70 plus of the population, 70% of the population vaccinated. We're not having the same types of mass, hospitalizations and critical deaths that have come in the past. I think we're going to have to start seeing this as a seasonal or yearly thing, like influenza, like the flu, and it's going to have to be part of our everyday life. And as people get used to that, and immunity and the inoculations are working more and more, then I think we as a society are going to start reacting less. But what we can't do is just go back to what we did before, and that's shut everything down, tuck tail, hide our heads in the sand, and hope everything gets better, because it's not that way. This virus is nasty. It's going to continue to spread, but we can't be at the will of it. We can't just hide and shut everything down, because that's not going to work. I mean, look at what has happened in the last 2 years. Look at Florida, for example. They're an open state. They're having less overall outbreaks than, let's say, New York or California, a state that's been shut down. So there's really no benefit of closing or shutting down our economy, and that's what's led to where we're at, high inflation. You shut down the economy, we're going to have supply chain issues. We're going to have, basically everything that comes with that, closing businesses. And then if you try to, inject money into the system, inject more dollars into the system with low supply chain, high demand, low supply chain, you're going to have inflation. And that's what we have now. And I know I'm feeling it.
Right. All right. So that's what's going on now. So what are your 3 things you're going to focus on that you're moving forward? When you become elected, what's your focus? What's that going to be? What's the first thing you'll do to make changes in our area?
Vote on no shutdowns. That's the one thing
Okay.
we need somebody at the federal level that's going to advocate for the Valley, for District 5, because it's not going to happen in California. And so this is a way for constituents to have power at the federal level. And that's what I would vote for. And that's the legislation I would put. No shutdowns. Also, we need to be energy independent again. That was a terrible decision by the Biden administration that was backed by Harder, that was backed by the DNC, to shut down our energy production. I mean, now we are at the will of OPEC. Just seems like a bad decision.
It was a bad decision, but I think the whole reason they did that was in order to sell a new Green Deal, you can't have energy prices really low, because that solar and the other stuff is very expensive, and you need to have the energy costs up. And then if you shut down a pipeline, all of a sudden now you have $5 gas and then you have high, heating costs, high this cost. Now they actually somewhere put out today that in New York, they're not allowing new buildings to be built with propane to go through them, or natural gas, I should say, not propane, natural gas to those things, because that's bad. Natural gas is one of the cheapest ways to get heat and everything from. We shouldn't get off that. We should be building a society going forward with these other things. That'd be like shutting down the internet and only using paper, right, to write from now on, or we only could communicate through the phone like we used to do. We're shutting things down. We're not growing. I don't know where my question was there, but I'm just saying that there's that whole thing they did was to sell their new Green Deal. And I know this is getting political, but that costs us more here in California. That costs us more for housing. That costs us more for supplies, anything we deal with. And that's why I'm talking about this today is everything that you vote for. Voting has consequences, like Obama said. It does. You have to know what you're voting for. How does that affect you? That affects you in your community. That affects you in your job. That affects you every way that you didn't think it could affect you. It is now being affected. We need to make those changes going forward. So that's why I wanted to have you on, so you can talk about those changes. And so you talked about energy and independence. Get back to that. And give me one more.
Energy independence. We need to get a hold of also on immigration, but on that point, let me touch on that. You're 100% correct. Innovation and energy independence is a good thing, and the far left, the squad, the AOCs, have said that it is their goal to bankrupt oil industries, and I'm all for alternative energies and green and solar, but it can't be overnight. You can't just close down one industry without having a solution for the other. So we know that we're just not there yet, when the price of electric vehicles is 2-3 times what you would get from a gas vehicle. And so eventually we can move, but in a former life, I was an electrician as well. And there's always a 2, 3, 4 part power grid system. So you're not just dependent on one energy source. If there's no sun, you have wind. If there's no wind, you have diesel. Some coastal cities are putting in ocean, motion type generators. And so we need to have a multi-pronged solution for this, and not just overnight. And, energy that's stored in lithium-ion batteries has its own set of factors to come in there. Most of that mining process is very intensive, and there's a ton of pollution and things that come with that. So we're trading one for the other. And like I said, this is something that needs to be addressed, but we need to do it incrementally when the technology is there and when we are there, and not just tank our economy because somebody is an ideologue, because this is someone's ideology that they believe, the industry is bad and now green is good. We will get there eventually, but it has to be incrementally.
Right. And I totally agree. But another issue is most of the supplies they need, like you talked about, they won't let us get it here in the United States, even though we have some of it because of the mining and what it causes. You have to get it from China and other places. Well, those are places that now that's going to cost more. They're going to control everything. And it's just, there's so much. It's a great idea, and we want to do that eventually, but you can't go there so fast that now you forget everything that you've just done. I mean, that was like and I'm going to get a little political. I don't mean to, but that's just how it is. You shut a border down, you open it up so that's for everybody. They shut all these different Trump things because either for Trump or against Trump. They get in, we can't have any of the Trump stuff. Well, a lot of that was working, whether you're Republican or Democrat. It was working. It doesn't matter where it comes from. Why is this so bad that a Republican came up with it and we got to get rid of it? Why is it so bad that a Democrat came up with it? We have to get rid of it. We need to stop doing that. We need to see what really works and blend them together and make it work. We can't just keep going one side or the other. I understand with the extreme left and the extreme right. I mean, right now everybody's saying, well, this energy and the fuel costs and the beef industry is just they are greedy, and it's because of them that's all these prices are up, when in reality that's not the reason it's up. The other side will say it's because people are lazy. That's not the case. The real issue here is we need to work together, and that's why I think we need more veterans in all these places.
No, thank you, Ed, and I agree. Just because someone created a policy that is against your party doesn't mean that that's a bad policy, or that when you get the opportunity, you're gonna disqualify that policy, or you're gonna send that policy back just because the person who wrote it is in an opposing party. We are all, both parties are supposed to be for the common good of the nation. Congress was established for the welfare of the nation, and so there are policies that Trump put in place that were great, that were getting our economy rolling, that were securing our borders. And that's one of the things that I wanted to focus on as well is, look, I have Hispanic heritage, and I know a lot of people in the area, immigration is a very sensitive topic, but we are a nation of immigrants, and I get that. But that was around the time of westward expansion when, we were needing hundreds of millions, not hundreds of millions, sorry, millions of new immigrants that were coming in. If we continue to let in people at this rate, we're going to have issues that are foreseeable. I would say, no, they're unforeseeable, but they're not. They are foreseeable. If you're a green person, if you're an environmentalist, what do you think is going to happen to pollution rates, environmental rates, if we have 2, 3, 4 times the population? It's going to be out of control. If you're a water conservationist person, how are we going to continue to absorb a population and meet water needs? So these are all pragmatic problems that are foreseeable with unchecked immigration. On top of that, there is a cultural shift. 1 in 4 Californians were born outside of the United States. That is a fact in California, and that is not including undocumented or illegal immigration. We don't know exactly how many numbers are in California or in the United States for that fact. There was a process in the 17, 18, 1900s where you would come. There was an assimilation process that took place. You had pride. Let's take my family in Ireland, for example. They came during the Irish potato famine, like many Irish did. They came through Ellis Island. They were vetted. And then there was this assimilation process that took place where you're becoming American. You're learning to become American. You can continue to have your cultural traditions, but within a generation, your kids, their kids, are now seeing themselves as American. And that's what I would propose would be an abeyance period, a pause on unchecked immigration so that we can have a chance for the newly arrived to assimilate into American culture and see what is it to be an American? What is my place in this country beyond an economic advantage or a personal need or want to have that. And that's a lot of the motivation that's coming in now. There are bona fide claims of refugees, of political refugees, but there are also criteria that a refugee must meet, and it's not economic needs. And that's what we're seeing flowing in a lot from all over the world. I'm empathetic to that cause, but we can't let in the world at our own peril, because then all of our quality of life is going to suffer. And you've got to have borders to have a nation.
Well, not only that, I mean, we're both military background. We know that not just refugees are coming through and other people. If you have it unchecked, that means you have Afghanis coming through. All the terrorists could be here, plotting again. We just went through a 9/11. We don't need another one. And not having secure borders doesn't keep out having secure borders can really keep out the bad people. Having unsecure borders just lets them in, and we're talking every way. I mean, there's so much going on. It is just we have no idea because we don't know where they're coming from and what's happening. And then you have all the different trafficking of people coming across the border, young people. It's just that's why you need that protection. And I just think that a lot of people just focus on, oh, they need to come here, and they focus on the refugees, but they don't see the other 80%. That's the bad people, the coming through the drugs, all the other stuff. So it's important to have a secure border, to have I mean, look at it this way. Fences make great neighbors, right?
That's right.
In your
That's
neighborhood.
right.
Take down all the fences and see how happy you are with your neighbors in your neighborhood. It wouldn't work. You'd be upset because their kids are coming down, playing on your yard, messing with your stuff. Same thing here. Fences make good neighbors. We need protection at the borders, both borders.
And every other nation in the world has that. Every other nation in the world has borders. You can't just, go to El Salvador and just buy property and become an El Salvadorian citizen. It doesn't work that way. It seems like we are the only ones that are holding ourselves to the standard. And there's this unclear notion that give us your tired, give us your poor. Yes, but that was, like I said, in a different time, in a different era. We're at a precipice in our population where we're going to start really feeling the effects of overpopulation. And we're seeing it in California with housing prices rising, with resources being scarce. And you're 100% correct when you're talking about security threats around the world. Just this week, there was a Saudi national that was tied to a Yemeni terrorist group that was caught at the border. And he was wearing an emergency responder jacket. Where is he getting this? Where is he getting the funding to fly to Mexico and walk his way across the border? We pulled out of Afghanistan in a terrible way, and that has created a vacuum in Afghanistan. And that vacuum is going to have a ripple effect for the next 20 years. So you don't think that those people with the intentions to harm Americans are going to be looking at our porous borders and saying, I wonder what the best way is to get back at them. I wonder what the easiest way is. Well, they're probably already here. They've probably been here. Very similar to the 9/11 attacks.
Right. I mean, this is, if you go back to the 50s when Russia was our main, focus, and they had sleeper agents and supposedly had them in the United States already. We had no idea, right? We don't know. We're now instead of being protective of our country and come together, it's like people are trying to tear our country apart. And we don't want that. We want to be back to the United States of America, where we are together. We're trying to make this country better than it is. It's the same thing I tell my kids: leave wherever you find, leave what you're doing better than the way you found it. That's how we should be. If you're in Congress, if you're doing anything, you're in politics, your job, whatever, make it a better world. Don't make it a worse world. So.
And that's why I'm running. I want to see things improve. I don't want to, run a negative campaign. I don't want to run on negativity. I want to be positive. I want to put positive energy into the world and into the district, because I think we deserve that. I think people in California District 5 deserve to have their voices heard at a federal level. And I think people are very frustrated and tired because they haven't been having that. We are a very heavily Democrat influenced state. And unfortunately, the Democratic Party has been heavily influenced by Marxist ideology. And that's happening all over California. There are open Marxists that are not hiding their ideology, and they are in the Democratic Party. And so I don't see Marxism and democracy, a democratic republic, working out well. No. We need to go back to our core values.
Now, we're not saying that all Democrats are Marxists, but
no, I'm not.
All Marxists are Democrat. So that's just how they are. That's how they're not Republican, and not every, and I'm, a lot, there's the right and the left and the rest of us in the middle. I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. Most of us are in the middle, and we want this a better world. And you see that now, where 1/3 trying to control the other 2/3, but we don't, we've been here almost 30 minutes. I don't want to go too long. I know you have something to get to. Anything else you want to add before we go?
No, I would just say, I'm here with good intentions and good purposes. And I want to represent the district, and I want to be someone that the district is proud of. And you can always reach out to me, Kilbride for Congress, and let me know your thoughts on that. And I look forward to this race.
All right. Yeah, I thank you for being here today, Eugene. Appreciate getting to know you, getting your background, and getting the word out about you, especially the fact that we're no longer District 10, we're District 5. That's huge, big difference. And again, I want to thank you for coming on the radio, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you're tuning in afterwards, please let us know. And thank you. If you like what we're doing here, just follow. And again, thank you so much, Eugene.
Thanks, Ed. I appreciate it.